Hi everyone, in this video we're going to be taking a look at quite a tricky writing assessment question for level 1 and level 2 functional skills. Now this is one that's recently been added, and what we're going to be looking at is how to give instructions in the writing assessment. Now if you haven't done so already, please can you like and subscribe, it really does help us out when you do so. So within this lesson then, by the time that we've finished it, you'll be able to recall how to give instructions, understand the importance of organisational features, and you'll be able to apply your understanding to an exam style question. So then the first thing I'd like you to do is you have a look at those images and think about the questions that follow. So first of all then, what do each of the images represent, and then what kind of instructions would you have to give based on the images that we've got there provided. So if you want to pause the video here and take your time and think about these questions in more depth, please feel free to do so. I'm going to jump ahead and go through the answers now. So for the first one, we've got the arrow there, so it'll be about giving someone directions. Remember, when we are doing anything relating to the functional skills course, this is all about developing everyday skills that you're going to be using in adult life. So giving someone instructions is a kind of common skill that we need to be able to do. Secondly, explain how to play a board game. And finally, nice simple one really, explain the correct way to make a cup of tea. A lot of people do get quite angry about that as well. All of these come under the banner of given instructions, and there might be typical things you might be asked to do in an actual writing assessment. So what is instructional writing? So within this task you'll be asked to give detailed instructions on an activity. This is testing your ability to use English in a functional manner and to navigate key situations within life. Being able to relay and understand instructions is a key skill, and you'll be tested on your ability to communicate clearly and concisely. The key thing to think about before we look at the actual question would be, what kind of presentational or organisational features do you need? Now, for each of the different forms of writing, you need to be confident about how you need to lay them out. So if you're not too sure about that, this is going to be a real key thing that you be aware of. Then for the super challenge, what kind of techniques would be effective here? Generally speaking, we use the acronym FOREST for a lot of our writing. You don't need to use all of these, so which one of these techniques would be most appropriate for this form of writing? Class feedback. Check your answers against the ones below. So for the organisational or presentational features, you could use the following things: bullet points or numbering, paragraphs, and a title. So again, with instructional writing, it's actually quite straightforward, but it is key to remember that there is still some presentational features you will need to use. The key techniques that you would be able to use would be things like direct address, facts, opinions, and imperative sentences. Technical accuracy. To improve the quality of your writing, you need to vary the length of your sentences. So we can break these down into two real main ones that you need to know. So a simple sentence is a sentence that is made up of just one independent clause or one simple idea. A compound sentence is made up of two independent clauses joined by a coordinate conjunction, so a word like for, and, nor, but, or, yet, or so, and a comma or by a semicolon alone. So an example is here as well. There are many things I love about English, but the teacher is by far the best part. So you can see there, it doesn't have just one simple idea like you get with a simple sentence. It actually has two. We have it joined by a comma and also by the conjunction but as well to join these two ideas. Now for a simple way to practice this, we're going to think about a very simple task. And the instructional task we're going to think about is how to do the correct cup of tea. So this is what we're going to think about, is decide on the correct order for the instructions. Use at least one imperative sentence for the instructions as well. Now if you're not too sure what we mean by that, an imperative is when you're giving an order or a command. This is quite an important one to think about when you talk about actually giving instructions, because it's saying you must do this or you must do that. Now if you're struggling to start, we can use the ideas on the next slide to start planning your instructions. Making a cup of tea. So organise the statements to instruct someone to make a cup of tea correctly. So typically these are the kind of things people would have. Just think about the order that you would put them in and which ones would be most important. Think about putting them in the chronological order, which is the logical sequence that they should follow. So the first one then, I've put the milk in first, add sugar or sweetener, put the water in, add the tea bags or leaves, and leave to stand for so many minutes. Now, remember to use an imperative sentence again. Just think about the order that you're going to use this for and just have a practice of actually giving those instructions. Look at the example and attempt the challenges that follow. How to make the perfect cup of tea. For the perfect cup of tea, you must follow the following steps to the letter. Step 1. Take the filtered water out of the fridge, not from the tap. Step 2. Put the milk in the mug first. Step 3. Step 4 and Step 5. So if you haven't wrote your own set of instructions yet, you can use this as a guide to start writing your own. Think about, do you agree with this steps so far, and then try and actually build on this and write the next steps to complete the written task. Now this isn't typically one that you would get in the exam because it is quite a short one. We're going to look at a more practical one, and this is just one to kind of get you to grips with the idea of giving instructions. Independent writing. Look at the exam question below and attempt the challenges that follow. So this is a real one that would actually appear in a lot of exam papers as well. So it says you are planning on going away for the weekend and your relative is going to house it for you. Write instructions to help your friend with this task. In your response you should use a range of sentence structures, use imperatives to emphasize key points, order your instructions in a logical order. So the first thing to do whenever you've got a question like this, whenever you've got any writing question really, is to identify the TAP of the exam question. And what we mean by that is the topic, audience and the purpose. So specifically then the topic is going to be relating to going away for the weekend. So that would be something that I might mark off or underline in my actual assessment, and someone is going to house it for you. Now it's important to know that also it is going to be a relative. So this is actually talking about who our audience is as well as the purpose of our writing. If we look further down as well, it says we're going to help your friend or relative, I suppose, with this task. So we're not going to be bossy. Try not to be too bossy anyway. You're not going to be aggressive with it. But if there are important things to actually relate to them, then that's where we're going to use our imperatives to actually make sure we're reinforcing that. The next thing, what is the purpose of the writing? To inform, persuade or advise. Now this is going to dictate the tone of your writing, so make sure you're aware of who you're writing to and how you want your writing to come across. And the mega challenge, how would you begin the response? What would be the first thing you need to write, and how would you actually make sure that you get a decent mark for this? Okay. Now if you want to have a go at this, if you also want to share it with us, then please feel free to do so. You can leave us a comment, like and subscribe, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. Now what we're going to look at is actually thinking about what will get you a decent mark for this assessment. So use the success criteria to mark your own response. So these are the things that I'd be looking out for as an examiner. So in your response, you need to use the appropriate organisational or presentational features, write in a clear, concise manner, use imperative language, and use a range of sentence structures. And finally, have a good level of spelling, punctuation and grammar. Now if you think about actually most of the writing tasks as well, things like having a good level of spelling, punctuation and grammar is just a standard thing that we'd expect in all forms of writing. So do make sure that the general technical accuracy of your writing is something that you're looking back over, double checking and correcting if you notice any errors. Learning review. Look at the other forms of writing and attempt the challenges that follow. So throughout the course then we've looked at many different forms of writing, and here are just a few of them now. So you have a letter, an article, a speech, a blog, a review, an instructional writing, email, and a report. So what I'd like to think about is which of these have we covered so far? Now if you're not too sure about any of these, please do check out our other videos that go into them in a lot more depth as well. We have specific videos that go through each of these, so you will find them on our channel as well. Next, I'd like you to rank each of these based on how confident you feel about them. So one of the big issues we have every single year when people come to sit their writing exam is they'll sit there and they'll say, I hope I don't have a letter, or I hope I don't have to write a report. Now, the reason why they're saying that is because they haven't really spent enough time going over them. So you want to make sure that when you do go into your writing exam, you feel confident that no matter what form of writing comes up, you feel confident to attempt it to the best of your ability. All you need to do really is go through them, make sure you feel confident about the organisational features, understand the tone and the message you're trying to convey, and then you'll be able to actually write with success as well. And then the last one, which form of writing should we focus on next time? If you've got any suggestions, then please do leave a comment below. If there's anything you're struggling with, do let us know. A few people have done that in the past. It's really helped us to actually make things that are helpful and help those guys to actually pass their assessments as well. Now, if you need any additional support, the new videos will be added every single week. Alternatively, leave us a comment below or visit our partner channel, Bookworm Teaching, for more lessons and guidance on all things English. Thanks ever so much for listening, guys, and all the best with your work and revision in the future. Bye bye.